Okay, so we moved on to game 2 of the tournament, and I'm facing a Lizardmen army. Both of us scored a complete massacre in the first game, so I figured this should be a pretty interesting game. Throwing this picture from mid-battle in there because I think it was one of the few action shots that actually looked pretty good. But you may or may not notice my army is almost completely painted now. So here we go with deployment. You can see how the table's laid out. Looking at my opponent, he's screening his units with 2 units of 10 skinks each, and there's a character in one of those units. There's some pterodons behind him, salamander and crew. Then there's a big block. I'd never seen them put together this way before. There's 2 croxagores, a bunch of skinks. Then there's a character mounted on a stegodon, all in one unit. Just scared the heck out of me. Next to that, there's a Engine of the Gods stegodon. There's another salamander. Then there's a level 4 Slan in a unit of whatever guards these are, and he's just nasty. He's nasty. And then there's some more pterodons. So what was interesting, he had 3 casters, and I'm not even sure where all. Obviously, there's the Slan. There's the one with the skinks, one on the stegodon. I think that's the 3 of them. They all took the lore of heavens, which I thought was real interesting. Anyway, so opposing him on my far right, I've got some Pegasus Knights, 18 skirmishing bowmen, half in the woods, Knights of the Realm with the Damsel, Knights Errant with the BSB, Grail Knights with the Damsel, Men at Arms, Fast Cav with my general behind him, Trebuchet, Knights Errant, and more Pegasus Knights. So I'm thinking, I can see he's real magic heavy. He's got some real nasty hitters in there with the stegodons and everything. Don't know what to do except to rush at him and try to take him out as quickly as I can. So he opts to go first, moves his salamanders up, and for the most part he's hanging back. I think those pterodons were afraid of my Pegasus Knights, so they didn't do anything. And he's just going to hang back and cast magic at me, which you can kind of tell by where he deployed his army, right at the back of the board. So there's the movement, which is really nothing. This is on my far left. His pterodons went ahead and flew into those woods. They're out of sight, so I can't charge him. I know he can't charge me, but he is going to be able to drop some rocks on me next turn. In the magic phase, amazingly enough, nothing happened, but keep in mind too, I come with 4 or 5 dispel dice and 3 scrolls. At the end of turn 1, I had no scrolls left. He was, it was nasty, the spells he was slinging. The Slan gets an extra power dice with every roll, and so he's casting 3 or 4 spells a slot. It was just brutal. But the one that did go through was a bound item that he targeted the damsel in this unit, and she had to take a strength test or she was dead, and I couldn't pass the ward save. So I used 2 scrolls, and then I got the damsel killed, and this was a damsel that had the 1 remaining scroll left. So I am now practically naked in terms of magic defense. So turn 2 is really starting to scare me. I feel pretty lucky that that's all I lost first turn, but I'm a little bit vulnerable now. So Brett's turn 1. I move the Pegasus right on my right, and everybody else just moves up as quickly as possible. I'd kind of like to get my bowman up there to shoot at him, but for now I've decided just to hang back and shoot at the pterodons who are on my left side. I think they're going to come behind my troops, and I don't need them charge me in the rear and hold me up, so my bowmen are back there just to protect the rear of my knights a little bit. And you can see everybody else, I'm just moving up really as quickly as possible. Oh, and here's that view again. Put it in there just because I liked it. So Lizard turn 2. He takes his pterodons, he flies, and my Pegasus Knights drops rocks on me and then retreats a couple inches. And I'm pretty sure I didn't suffer much there. I guess we'll see in the next pictures if I did or not. Otherwise, he moved his character out of the skink units. You can see it's standing next to the Crocscore unit. Technically, he's in it. Everybody else, he walks up so he can start throwing stuff at me, shooting me, spitting fire at me. and everything else. And you can see he took his Engine of the Gods and ran him up. So it has some kind of area spell, and it was able to cast a wide net and hit almost all of my units with, I forget what the spell does, but certainly was pretty scary. And there's another look at the board. So there used to be a unit of Knights Errant right there. They're down to 2, and I think by the end of his phase they were all gone. I think he magicked them down to 2 guys, and I think at the end of shooting they were all dead, or possibly they fled and into the unit of Pterodons. But other than that, I really can't complain too much. I lost a couple Grail Knights, and that's it. Didn't lose anybody else that round. I might have lost some men-at-arms, but for the most part, I can't complain a bit. I think he set it up very nicely, and no real harm came to it. Not that I like losing those Grail Knights, but still. If you look at the quarter that's right in the middle of all my Knights, that's because the Comet of Cassandra went off, and that's where he placed it. And which isn't wonderful, but what kept occurring to me was, had he taken the Lore of Metal, that would have been Spirit of the Forge, and one of my units would have been in some real serious hurt. So there we see the Knights Errant are gone, and I've lost, let's see, 8 of those peasants. So that was pretty lucky on my part again. We're at the end of another magic phase. Remember, I was magic naked. He was shooting everything at me, all that magic, and it just, his dice failed him. I mean, they're just really relatively little was done to me. And part of that's because I think he took the wrong lore, and his dice just failed him. So I'm feeling pretty lucky at this point. So, yeah, the Comet went off, and you can see I lost another Grail Knight, and I lost a wound on the Damsel, because we had to distribute, we had to distribute the hits equally, and I lost 1 Knight Errant. And again, I think I consider myself very, very lucky.